Right now, you're not undervalued because you lack talent. You're undervalued because you look free. Free to interrupt, free to access, free to use. People don't price what costs them nothing. They price what resists them, what limits them, what makes them pay. That's the rule of respect. Not kindness, not virtue, cost. They don't respect what they can predict. They respect what could hurt them if mishandled, or vanish if taken for granted. You've been trained to be available, to say yes fast, to answer instantly, to soften your tone so no one feels threatened. And the world did the math. Zero cost, zero urgency, zero respect. Machiavelli understood this in palaces where smiles hid knives. He wrote about fear and love as currencies and how rulers must be careful with both. What he really explained was leverage, the art of making your presence expensive and your silence decisive. You think respect starts with being useful. It doesn't. Usefulness without boundaries is servitude. Servitude is predictable. Predictable is cheap. So here's the first cut of truth. You are not paid by your effort. You are paid by the friction it takes to replace you. If that sentence stings, good. Pain is intel. You've made yourself replaceable by being everywhere, all the time, for everyone. Look at your habits. You explain before anyone asks. You overshare your process. You ask permission to speak in rooms you already built. You apologize for taking up air, for taking up space, for taking a stand. And they watch you do it. And they put you in the only category that makes sense. Reliable background, perpetual support, a man who will wait. Respect is not a mood. It is a geometry, angles, distances, edges. You let people stand too close for free. You let them know too much for free. You let them decide your value for free. Then you wonder why they never pay in full. You told them not to. Listen carefully. Respect is the child of two parents, risk and restraint. Risk means there is a cost to mishandling you. Restraint means you don't give everything even when you can. When risk and restraint combine, people feel weight. That weight is respect. You've been giving weight away with polite explanations. You've flattened your edge with nervous laughter. You've trained people that your time bends, your price bends, your boundaries bend. They believed you, and then they used you. Because they are not evil, they are efficient. The cure isn't louder words, it's colder structure. Change the math and the room recalibrates. Change nothing and your speeches are perfume on a locked door. Start with presence. You enter rooms like you're asking to be forgiven for existing. Stop. Your first sentence is a verdict, not a petition. Your first look is a measure, not a request. Slow down. Predators don't rush unless they strike. You've been sprinting to be seen. Walk like you're weighing the floor. Hold silence. You fill every gap with apologies, hedges, softeners. Silence after a hard line creates debt. Let them pay it. Remove softness from your throat. Lower your pitch. Reduce your tempo. Make your words land like outcomes, not options. You think this is performance. It isn't. It's signaling. And signaling writes your price. Next, scarcity. Scarcity is not disappearance. It is controlled access. Stop answering instantly. Instant responses train them to expect you on demand. On demand is the opposite of respect. Set windows. Protect them fiercely. When they break your windows, you don't explain the rule again. You enforce it without a tremor. Enforcement is a sentence, not a story. Yes, that is proof your access had value. Upset is the sound of a boundary working. Yes, lose the ones who only stay when you are free. Value that survives cost becomes respect. Now price. Price isn't a number. It's a narrative backed by consistency. You lower your prices when you feel small. There is no next time. There is only the story you teach by what you tolerate today. Raise the number and raise the posture around it. State it plainly, then stop talking. When they ask for a discount, don't argue. return to the number. If they press, withdraw your presence. Silence is a mirror that makes their need visible. Never sell your hours, sell your outcomes. Hours invite bargaining. Outcomes invite belief. Belief pays more than time ever will. Signal replacement cost at every step, not by bragging. By structure, limited slots, clear scope, ruthless change fees, tight start dates, earlier payment. Delivery. You over-deliver to earn respect. Then you do it again because it worked once. Then again because now they expect it. Now you are trapped. Over-delivery is not a gift. It is a promise you can no longer break. Deliver exactly what you promised, exactly when you promised, exactly how you promised. Then stop. If you want to exceed, exceed with distance. Add something they can only unlock later, or by renewing, or by leveling up. Never exceed in the same window they already purchased. That trains entitlement, not reverence. Feedback. You chase it to feel safe. Stop. Solicit feedback at set checkpoints, not at random. Questions at the wrong time signal insecurity. Questions at the right time signal control. Then you wait. If they disagree, they show you where the objective moved. That's their confession, not your apology. Communication. Shorter messages, fewer explanations, more decisions. If a decision is made, speak as if the room already agreed. If the room objects, redirect to the mission, not the emotion. No debate about your worth, only alignment with the target. Interruptions. Stop letting them. When someone cuts you off, don't raise your volume. Lower it. Pause. Look. Finish your sentence exactly once. If they interrupt again, end the meeting early. Respect learns faster from endings than lectures. Visibility. You post too much process and not enough verdicts. Process invites advice. Verdicts invite attention. Share fewer drafts. Share more finishes. Let people discover your work when it is undeniable, not editable. All of this feels harsh only because you built your world on approval. Approval is sugar. It feeds fast and kills slow. Respect is protein. It rebuilds you. Machiavelli would tell you this gently if he cared about your comfort. He didn't. Power was the subject. Power still is. Understand something brutal. Being liked is easy. Being respected is expensive. You've been paying for likes with discounts, delays, and dignity. Switch currencies. From now on, your value is not a plea. It is a policy. Policy lives in calendars and contracts and behaviors, not in hopes. Policy is how you treat yourself when no one is watching, and how you treat them when everyone is. The moment you hesitate, the room senses weakness. The moment you explain, you lower the price. The moment you chase, you teach them to run. So you will reverse the sequence. First, you will shrink your access. Then, you will sharpen your statements. Then, you will slow your pace. Then, you will raise your number. Then, you will enforce endings. Endings are sacred. They teach faster than beginnings. End the call on time. End the project on scope. End the discount forever. You are not cruel. You are clear. Cruelty harms others. Clarity harms fantasies. Your old fantasy was that kindness buys respect. It doesn't. Kindness with edges does. Edges are not anger. Edges are limits. Limits are love for your future. When you start doing this, some will protest. They were nourished by your softness. They will tell you you've changed. Agree. They will say you are cold. Agree again. Cold is not cruel. Cold is controlled. Others will lean in. They'll hear the weight in your voice. They'll notice the pause that makes them answer their own question. They'll feel the cost of losing you. They will calibrate. Because people don't follow truth, they follow certainty. Truth arrives later with the receipts. Your certainty begins before the world approves. That's the pivot. That's where respect starts. When you decide that your standard is not a negotiation. The standard is not loud. It is consistent, a quiet wall that does not move. You'll be tempted to explain this wall. Don't. Let them learn it with their forehead. Now watch the geometry shift. Rooms that ignored you start to slow when you enter. People who spoke over you begin to wait. Not because you begged, because your posture says outcome, not option. This is the first law of respect. Make their loss visible before your value is discussed. You do it with time, with terms, with tone, not with speeches. And when they test you, and they will, do not flare. Hold the line. End the meeting if the line breaks. Endings teach. You are building a religion of behavior, and the only worship you accept is alignment. Remember, this is not motivation. This is control, not control of others. Control of access, control of narrative, control of self. Machiavelli's world did not reward the prettiest speech. It rewarded the clearest signal. Your new signal is simple. You are scarce. You are measured. You are final. Say less. Charge more. Enforce always. And when the old reflex rises, the urge to explain, to soften, to speed up, use inversion. Every time you want to justify, go quiet. Every time you want to hurry, slow down. Every time you want to give extra, remove one thing you were never paid for. You will feel the discomfort in your chest. Good. That is the heat that forges a new identity. Identity precedes income. Posture precedes price. Distance precedes demand. You don't announce this transformation. You practice it until it leaks from your eyes and your calendar. You're about to notice something chilling. As you become expensive to mishandle, people become careful. Careful becomes respectful. Respect becomes standard. And now the room that used to judge you adjusts to you. Not because you shouted, because you stopped bending. From here on, you don't chase recognition. You make mismanagement dangerous. You don't prove worth. You price it. You don't ask to be seen. You set the view. Hold this line. In the next part, we will turn that line into a system. How to price your presence, script your speech, and manage rejection so that every no increases your gravity instead of stealing it. Watch closely. You don't stay undervalued because you lack proof. You stay undervalued because you lack a system. Respect is not a personality. Respect is a pipeline. Inputs become posture. Posture becomes price. Price becomes perception. Perception becomes policy. Policy becomes respect. Today, you stop begging for recognition and you start engineering it. 3 levers. Presence as price. Voice as verdict. Rejection as fuel. Pull them correctly and the room recalibrates around you without a speech. Start here. Your presence is not free. Your presence is a product. You will stop selling time. You will sell outcomes with rules that make mishandling you expensive. First move. Access is gated. Entry is a window, not a revolving door. State your window. Guard your window. Enforce your window. They ask for a call outside it. You don't explain why you can't. Then you shut your mouth and let the sentence breathe. Second move. Money first. Deposits are not distrust. Deposits are alignment. Work begins when the invoice clears, not when promises sound sincere. The calendar obeys payment, not hope. You will be tempted to defend this. You won't. Then you let silence do the rest. Third move. Scope is a wall. Scope creep is a test. Change orders are reality. Every addition has a price. Every deviation has a date. Every small tweak is either attached to a fee or pushed to phase 2. Do you hear the calm in that? Calm isn't softness. Calm is the sound of a policy that has nothing to prove. Fourth move. Urgency tax. Rush requests pay triple. Last-minute cancellations pay a fee. Reschedules roll to the back of the line. You think that's harsh? It's not. It's honest. They are asking you to move a mountain. Mountains don't sprint for free. Fifth move. Slots, not hours. You don't open your whole month and pray. You create limited openings. You publish them, you fill them. Everyone else is a wait list or a forward date. Scarcity makes attention precise. Abundance invites disrespect. Sixth move, written terms that breathe like stone. Payment terms, change terms, deliverable terms, communication terms, office hours, response thresholds, escalation paths. You don't hide terms in a PDF like a hostage. You speak them out loud. Then you behave like their gravity. Seventh move, no discounting your spine. When asked for a discount, you never lower the number. You remove scope or you walk. Then you stop. No nervous laughter, no apology. Let them choose the pain they prefer. Eighth move, outcomes over evidence. You've been drowning them in artifacts to look useful. Stop. Artifacts are bait for micromanagement. Set the objective, agree on the finish line, deliver the finish line. Artifacts are internal until the end, or at preset milestones. Ninth move, cadence with teeth. You decide when you meet, not whenever they itch. Weekly, bi-weekly, fine. But the cadence is the only place where ambiguity dies. Everything else lives in writing. 10th move, close like a judge, not a juggler. At the end of a meeting, you deliver verdicts. Decision, A. Owner, Dana. Then you leave. No lingering. To invite scope ghosts. Endings teach faster than 1,000 policies. You will want scripts. Good, because scripts carry your spine when your courage is still waking up. You'll say, availability opens on the 15th. You'll say, we begin once the deposit hits. You'll say, that request is out of scope. You'll say, I don't discount. You'll say, we stay on mission. This is off mission. Notice the structure. Short, final, binary, mission bound. This is how you turn presence into price without apology. Now the voice. Words don't only inform, words impose. You've been speaking like a suggestion. You will speak like a decision. Filter 1. Slow. You cut your pace by a third. Breath between clauses. Space after endings. The space is a bill. Make them pay it. Filter 2. Low. You lower your pitch. You drop the rising question mark at the end of sentences. You stop begging for agreement with sound. Filter 3. Short. No paragraphs when a sentence will do. No sentence when a word is enough. Approve, decline, proceed, hold, stop. Filter 4. Final. No hedges, no softeners, no escape hatches. When challenged, you don't defend. You redirect. They sputter, you wait. Silence makes the frame visible. You say, we can move the date at a rush rate. They feel the cost. They calibrate. They try to pull you into a debate. Then you move back to the decision you already stated. This isn't arrogance. This is oxygen. For your authority, we can maximize cost or maximize control. You are not mean. You are a surgeon. Surgeons don't explain gravity during the operation. They cut. Meeting choreography matters. You arrive prepared with 3 decisions. You open with the biggest one. You state your recommendation as if it's already true. Then you pause. Let them pay the silence tax. If someone interrupts, you don't raise volume. You stop, you look, you finish once. If it happens again, you end the meeting. Not angrily, finally. Then you leave. That exit is not drama. It is a lesson. Lessons compound into respect faster than speeches. Emails and DMs follow the same law. Short subject, one outcome, one date, one link. You are not writing a novel. You are issuing orders to chaos. Now rejection. Rejection is not the end. Rejection is the audit that tells you where your gravity hasn't reached yet. Most people bleed on the spot. You will not. Your protocol has 5 movements: freeze, vanish, reframe, reinvest, reappear. Freeze means stillness. No defensive paragraphs, no long arguments. That's it. You do not chase after a door that's shut. You let the door feel its own echo. Vanish means withdraw presence like oxygen, not to punish, to price. The thing people took for granted becomes heavy when it's gone. You don't post neediness. You don't see the timeline with subtweets. You vanish into work. Reframe means you rewrite the story in your own blood. You were not rejected, you selected out. You tested for discernment and they failed. Every no is intel on who is blind to value at your current signal strength. The words are not for them, they are for the architecture of your identity. Reinvest means you pour the same energy you almost spent arguing into assets that compound. Finish the product, polish the case study, sharpen the offer, raise the floor under your feet. The market respects engineering, not tantrums. Reappear means you return when your presence creates discomfort without a word. There is a level where your name becomes a mirror. People see themselves lacking, and they correct their posture before speaking. You do not gloat, you do not remind. You exist. That's enough. Now practical templates, so your spine doesn't shake when the moment arrives. You reply, understood. If cost remains the top priority, they're a fit. If outcomes become the priority, reach out. You reply, no, we can reduce scope to match your budget or maintain scope at my rate. When they ghost you after talking big, you reply once, we'll close your file on Friday. Then you stop. When they return months later with urgency, you reply, I can fit you in at the rush rate. Otherwise, the next standard opening is the 12th. These are not tricks. These are bones. Bones hold structure when the room leans. Fear, correctly understood, is not terror. It is carefulness. Carefulness around a standard that does not move. Your standard becomes a rumor, then a legend. Rumors are free marketing, but you earn them by endings. In the wrong engagement, in the discount, in the juvenile urgency, in the habit of flooding people with justifications to calm your own anxiety. You will still feel the shake inside your chest. Good. That's your old identity dying. Let it. Because once you see rejection as a sorting mechanism instead of a wound, you become unreachable. Not because you don't feel, because you refuse to dance when someone else claps. Here is a tight system you can memorize when the heat rises. 1. Decide the rule before you enter the room. 2. State the rule like weather. 3. Enforce the rule like time. 4. Record exceptions. Charge for them or never repeat them. 5. And fast when the rule is insulted. Do this 10 times and the air around you changes. People pause before they speak. They consider before they ask. They calculate before they disrespect. Your calendar becomes a fortress. Your voice becomes a gate. Your prices become a test. Your silence becomes a sentence. And then the strangest thing happens. The people who wanted you cheap now want you precise. The ones who interrupted now wait. The ones who haggled now wire first. Nothing about your talent changed. Everything about your terms did. This is the spine of the rule of respect. You create cost around access. You communicate outcomes like verdicts. You turn no into positioning instead of pain. You will be accused of arrogance. You will be accused of being cold. Accept both. You're not auditioning for warmth. You're building gravity. Gravity doesn't explain itself. It bends the room. You wanted something gentler. Gentle made you invisible. This makes you inevitable. In the final part, we take the system you've built and weld it to your identity so it holds under fire. We'll lock your posture under pressure, script the one-line responses that end power games in seconds, and deliver the final command that will divide your old world from the new one. Watch closely. You don't lose respect when things are calm. You lose it when the room heats up. Pressure exposes posture. Pressure exposes policy. Pressure exposes identity. This is where you used to fold, where your voice got fast, where your price got soft, where your boundaries died politely. Not anymore. This is the forge. This is where the rule of respect becomes a reflex, where your system survives contact with chaos. Hook in, because what you're about to build isn't confidence, it's control under fire. Start with the 3 fires that melt most people: fear, flattery, and frenzy. Fear first. Fear makes you buy approval with discounts and explanations. When fear rises, you slow down, not speed up. You breathe out first. You lower your pitch. You shorten your sentence. Then you speak like the outcome has already been chosen. No justifications, no padded paragraphs. Decisions, not diaries. Flattery second. Flattery makes you trade standards for attention. They praise you, then press you. You don't melt. You measure. Appreciate it. Compliment accepted. Boundary intact. Frenzy third. Frenzy makes you chaotic to match their chaos. If they rush, you anchor. If they spiral, you simplify. If they panic, you pause. You never mirror weakness. You mirror the finish line. Now weld your system to your identity so it holds when you're tired, hungry, or cornered. Identity is not a motto. Identity is choreography you repeat until it becomes bone. 5 drills. Small, concrete, brutal. Drill 1. The silence tax. Once per day, after you state a decision, you say nothing for a full count of 5. Let the room pay the silence. When they try to fill it, you do not rescue them. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is invoice. Drill 2. The 2-sentence rule. Emails, DMs, and replies for decisions must fit in 2 sentences or less. 1 sentence is better. Fewer words force sharper thought. Sharp thought signals weight. Drill 3. The window wall. Choose 2 blocks of availability per week. Everything else is closed. You will want to justify why you're closed. Don't. That's weather, not debate. Drill 4. The price spine. Then raise it by 10% on a date you already wrote down. Respect compounds when your own voice believes you. Drill 5. The ending blade. End one thing early every week when it goes off mission. A call that derails, a project that creeps, a conversation that disrespects. Endings educate your world faster than speeches. You will be tested. People always test what they cannot see through. Good. That's your classroom. Here are the 6 tests you will face and the 1-line responses that end them without emotion. Test 1. The friendly undervalue. Can we get a quick favor? You say, I don't do unscoped work. No sarcasm, no anger, just stone. Test 2. The rushed discount. We need this tomorrow. You say, we can move it to tomorrow at the rush rate or keep the budget and start next opening. Test 3. The authority bypass. They talk over you or re-explain your domain. You say, we're off mission. Then you end the meeting. Lessons learned. Test 4. The scope whisper. You say, that's phase 2 or an add-on. Tweak is a disguised door. Shut it with a price. Test 5. The flattery lever. You're the best. Only you can do this. You say, thank you. Compliment acknowledged. Frame intact. Test 6. The public probe. Someone questions your decision in front of others. You say, that's incorrect. The decision stands. You move. They recalibrate. Notice the pattern. Short, final, binary, mission-bound. You are not chasing agreement. You are maintaining gravity. Now the hard part. What happens inside you when your old habits scream? Old habit, explain more. New response, cut words. Old habit, speed up. New response, slow down. Old habit, prove you're nice. New response, be precise. You will feel it in your throat, in your chest, in your hands. That heat is not danger. That heat is metal. Hold it, breathe, count 5, speak once. Another layer, the social arena. Friends, peers, family. They know the old you. They trained the old you. They will try to call him back. You do not justify a boundary. To the people who benefit from its absence, you demonstrate it. If they love you, they adapt. If they don't, you just learned who liked your weakness more than your future. Now power games, gossip, guilt, goading. Gossip tries to pull your attention away from mission. You don't defend your name in rooms you don't enter. You strengthen your name in rooms you build. Guilt tries to rent your spine. You do not borrow from your standards to pay someone else's feelings. You hand them the bill for their choices. Goading tries to make you reactive. You don't swing at bait. You cut the line. Then you leave. Not dramatic, decisive. Let's reinforce with Machiavelli, because you're not just changing tone, you're changing the game. He taught rulers to manage appearances and substance. Appear generous, but protect the treasury. Appear approachable, but protect the throne. Appear flexible, but protect the law. Your treasury is your time and terms. Your throne is your mission. Your law is your standard. Generosity without a treasury is bankruptcy. Approachability without a throne is chaos. Flexibility without a law is slavery. So you will be generous on schedule, not on demand. Approachable by window, not by whim. Flexible by plan, not by pressure. Because power is not about how loud you are. Power is about how much you move without moving. Let's seal your voice under pressure with 3 anchors you can deploy anywhere. Anchor 1. Name the frame. When someone drags you into noise, you reframe to mission. Short, disarming, final. Anchor 2. Demand the trade. Every request has a cost. Make them name it. We can add this if we drop X or move Y. Now they see their own appetite. Respect begins when people feel price. Anchor 3. End with a wall. A decision without an ending is a door left open for disrespect. All set. We'll proceed with A. Stand up. Leave. The body teaches faster than the mouth. Your social feeds need this same spine. Stop narrating your process in public to feel useful. Post verdicts. Post value. Post openings. Post results. Then disappear. Scarcity in speech. Scarcity in presence. Scarcity in visibility. Scarcity is not hiding. Scarcity is hierarchy. Now the relapse protocol. Because you will slip. You will over-explain. You will say yes when you meant no. You will send one too many texts. The relapse protocol is 3 steps. Notice, name, neutralize. Notice without drama. Name the exact law you broke. Neutralize with a corrective action in 24 hours. Raise the rate on the next deal. Close the calendar for 3 days. End the wobbly thread. If you don't correct in 24 hours, weakness hardens into culture. And culture is a cathedral, beautiful to everyone but fatal to you. High stakes? Betrayals? Let's armor that too. Betrayal is information about alignment. You do not explode. You document. You end access. You don't vow revenge. You increase replacement cost so betrayal becomes self-harm for the next person who considers it. People can hurt you once. The system makes sure it isn't twice. And yes, there is a place for warmth, for kindness, for generosity. But your kindness has a calendar. Your generosity has a gate. Your warmth has a wall. Unbounded warmth invites wolves. Bounded warmth builds kingdoms. You wanted respect to feel like applause. It won't. It feels like quiet rooms and cleaner calendars. It feels like fewer words and faster decisions. It feels like your old addictions, validation, noise, speed, losing their grip. You will grieve them. Let them go. What replaces them is better. Appointments that start on time. Payments that land before work. Silence that speaks for you. Rooms that slow when you enter. And then the legend begins. Not the fake one people post with filters. The real one people whisper because it costs them nothing to tell the truth. This is where undervalued dies. Not because the world changed, because you stopped paying for your own disrespect. Summon the final layer. Rituals that make identity automatic. Morning ritual. 5 minutes of stillness before you speak to anyone. Afternoon ritual, a single deliberate walk where you practice moving slowly. Evening ritual, a 2-line journal of decisions made and boundaries enforced. Simple, hard, holy. You will be tempted to share your transformation with everyone. Don't. Become it. Let the rooms report back. They always do. And now we close the loop the way your competitor would. Not with comfort, with command. Your life splits here. On one side, the old geometry, free access, soft tone, cheap price, endless explanations. On the other, the rule of respect, cost around access, verdicts in your voice, rejection as fuel, endings as education. Choose. If you choose the old world, it will welcome you back with dopamine and discounts. If you choose this one, it will resist you at first, then bend. You don't owe the past a goodbye. You owe the future a standard. From now on, you price presence like a product. You speak like decisions, not drafts. You make mishandling you expensive. You end without anger and begin without begging. You turn every no into a sharper signal. You do not seek to be loved first. You seek to be respected always. Love can rest on respect. Respect cannot rest on begging. When they ask what changed, you don't write a thread. You show them a calendar, a contract, a conversation that ends on time. If they say you're arrogant, let them stand outside the gate and name it arrogance. If they say you're cold, let them warm themselves somewhere else. If they say you've become difficult, let them realize that difficulty is simply the price of mishandling you. This is not cruelty. This is custody. Custody of your standard. Custody of your time. Custody of the throne no one will hand you. Machiavelli didn't wait to be understood. He acted and let understanding arrive late and breathless. Do the same. Carry the rule of respect into every room. Walk slower. Speak shorter. Charge higher. Enforce faster. And cleaner. You are not trying to be unforgettable. You are refusing to be ignorable. That is how legends are made. Not by noise, but by gravity. Not by access, by absence. Not by warmth alone, by walls that teach. Final command. Like this video if you're done chasing. Subscribe if you're ready to become the kind of man they can't control, can't predict, and can never forget. Because this isn't self-help. This is war.